About a month ago, my BMW E36 was written off, which meant that I was in the market for a new car. I checked out several options, but there was one car that I kept coming back to as something that I've wanted since I was a teenager. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my Toyota Chaser. So I know you have heaps of questions. Why have I bought a Toyota Chaser? What's been done to this example? And what am I planning on doing with it in the future? We're gonna answer all those questions in today's video. My name's Pat, this is 2PJZ. Let's get stuck in. You're probably wondering how I got here. How did I get into this particular Toyota Chaser? Let's wind it back to the very beginning where all good stories start, and I'll take you along with me to my buying journey. This all started just over a month ago when my BMW E36 was written off when I was driving home from the gym one morning. I put a video up a few weeks ago explaining exactly what happened, but it meant that I was in the market for a new car. I'd always wanted a Toyota Chaser since I was a kid, and that was the first thing on my agenda to check out. So let's see what I thought of it. Heading out to inspect the first car that I am looking at buying to replace my E36. I haven't done an inspection yet, so this is really exciting. As you would know in my car buying guide, I say you always need multiple options. This is one of probably about like 3 or 4 that I've got, not just Chasers, but other cars that I've got organised for this weekend. So having some help, Will from JZX Parts Australia, the online site, will be coming out to help, which is great. So very, very keen. This particular car is probably out of all the options, the one that I want the most. So this car absolutely blew me away. I always say, because I've bought heaps of cars, you should never buy the first thing you see, but man, this one got me. Holy crap, I am obsessed. I have said in my car buying guide, you shouldn't fall in love with the first car that you inspect, and this is proof that that is a very hard thing to do, particularly in such a rare spec like this car is. Got to keep the options open. I do want to check out the Accord Euro R, but my initial impressions from this car, things that stand out to me is that it's a very honest seller, which is something you don't find these days a lot, particularly in older Japanese cars. A lot of people are just selling real dodgy cars and they try and stitch you up. Paint definitely needs attention. Mechanically it looks okay, but I am a perfectionist, so something to keep in mind. So I think an option like this would be really good for the channel, but also to fulfill a big personal desire that I've had of owning another JDM car again and actually modifying it. I've always had Japanese cars that have been modified by the time that I bought them, so actually having something that is dead stock and I can do whatever I want to it. So I think it's a very viable option, but I do want to check out an Accord Euro R just to have that direct standard of comparison. But man, if I can get this car for the price that I want to pay, the owner's pretty firm on what he wants. He knows, what it's worth. He knows it's a rare colour, and that's good. Hopefully we can move the needle a little bit, because mechanically there's nothing that really needs to be done. I'm currently on the way to check out another car. I also went to check out this really nice Honda Accord Euro R CL1. It's a really rare car and it really stood out to me. It reminded me a lot of my Evo TME and my Honda Del Sol combined into one car. I really liked the essence of how it drove, and it made for a really tough decision. But at the end of the day, my heart stood with the JZX 100. Back home now from seeing the CL1, and initial impressions are very good. I liked it a hell of a lot more than I honestly thought I was going to. Oh, such a tough choice. It's so hard to compare a rear-wheel drive Chaser with a front-wheel drive Accord, but man, like short ratio gearbox, already manual unlike the Chaser, already has an LSD unlike the Chaser. It's more out-the-box fun, but the decision for me comes down to whether I think I can commit to it long-term and like see the long-term vision for it. But very special car, like less than 2,000 of those CL1s made, and I really liked it. It reminded me a lot of my Del Sol, classic Honda fun, reliable. It wouldn't cost me that much to maintain, so there's a bit to consider. Have to sleep on it. I say you never should buy the first car you see. Now seeing 2, and you definitely shouldn't buy a car straight away when you inspect it, because emotions can come into play. So don't want to make an emotional decision. I want to make the right decision for me and for the future of the channel and stuff. So a bit to consider, but certainly really cool. Why did I buy a Toyota Chaser? Well, as I said, I've always wanted one since I was a teenager, and this particular example really spoke to me. It's in a really rare color called 8L4 Blue. Toyota only made 528 Chasers in this color, which was around 5% of the total build number for the JZX100 platform. This particular car is completely original, right down to the factory radio, and it doesn't have any engine mods whatsoever. The blue plug to connect the blow-off valve was still even plugged in. It gives me a really good base to either modify it myself and it hasn't been molested before this, or to keep it completely stock. So walking around the car now, as I said, this is completely original. Looking at the front of the car here, you can see it doesn't have the factory aero kit. I spoke this a bit in a couple of previous videos, particularly the one I just released on Tuesday with Cars and Coffee Tonsley, where I pointed out a couple of Chasers and said that I'd been looking at them. When I'd posted that video, I'd already put the deposit down on this. So seeing two Chasers together, one with a lip kit and one without, it really cemented to me that I need the lip kit on this car. I think the Chaser looks really naked without the lip kit. Don't get me wrong, it looks really, really good, but it is very Camry-like without the factory aero kit. Obviously, looking down here, you can see there's the stock wheels, stock suspension. This car sits so high off the ground. Putting my fingers under the guards, these have never been rolled before. There's a few like little spots of paint fade and scratches and things that I want to clear up over time. Like on the mirror here, there's a little bit of paint fade. Same on the other side of the car. Coming around the back, it's got factory spoiler, which I think is really nice. I don't really like them without the factory spoiler. I just think it makes the back end look a bit more sporty and less Camry-like. Obviously, silver badges. I really like it when the Chasers keep their badges. I might change these eventually to some gold badges. I think it would look really nice against the blue. You can even tell the stock exhaust. This has not been changed at all. There are a couple little defects on the left-hand side of the car. There's a bit of paint peel up here. And on the back, there's a little bit of clear coat peel as well. But I'm pointing this stuff out for you so you don't point it out for me in the future. The front of the car is a little spot on the front bumper, but besides that, the car is in really nice condition. There's a few things that I want to do immediately, like switch out the headlight lenses because these are a bit foggy, so I'm going to get a new set of these put in, and the fog light covers. And then on the inside, which I'll show you now, that is also completely bone stock. Inside the car now, first thing I wanted to point out that you've probably already realized is yes, it is automatic.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
I couldn't afford a manual Chaser if I'm just being totally honest, but the plan for this is to manual swap it as soon as I can afford it, and obviously you will be seeing that on the channel. But even in auto form, and I'm not just saying this because I had no choice, it drives really nice, particularly with the stock wheels and tires, the stock suspension, everything is original. It is such a comfy car, and I honestly don't mind driving it in auto. So if you're looking at buying a Chaser and you're put off by the fact it's automatic, don't be, because the gearbox in these is very smooth. As long as it's been looked after, the shifting is really snappy, so I do not mind having an auto for now. Inside the car, there's not really much to talk about because it is completely original, even down to the factory head unit. One of the first things I want to do to this is put in a double DIN CarPlay head unit, but I almost feel bad touching anything on the car because it is so original. This car was imported into Australia in 2017 and I bought it from the first Australian owner, so I know everything that's happened to the car since it's been in Australia. I've got all the export documents from when it was in Japan, so it sort of feels a little bit bad potentially modifying it considering it is so original, but I cannot deal with an FM transmitter for any longer than I have to, so I would love to get a CarPlay head unit in, modernize the interior a little bit while still keeping the essence of what Toyota intended with this car, with an OEM Plus type build that we're going to talk about very shortly. This car is a Series 2 JZX100. The first way to tell is the steering wheel. This is a much sportier steering wheel than what you'll find in the Series 1, which has a much chunkier bus-like steering wheel. However, in the Series 2, we get this seat, which has the bus seat type pattern that JZX fans around the world and I've loved since I was a teenager. Everything in the interior works besides the mirrors, but once you set the mirrors, you don't have to touch them again. However, over time, I would like to find out if I can fix the wiring in the mirrors to at least get them to retract when I'm parking. And another little thing I wanted to point out is down here, you've got this little bin, which it was a factory optional extra, and I can check with my Chaser optional extras brochure that you can see that little part here in the brochure, which is really, really cool to be able to have some form of optional extra in this car. And I want to shout out Will from JZX Parts Australia for giving me this brochure before I even bought the car. He actually helped me buy it, so thank you, Will. If you need anything for your JZX, hit up JZX Parts AU on Instagram. Looking under the bonnet, there's really not too much to show you because I wasn't pumping up my tires when I said this was original. This car has had nothing done to the engine bay. It has the stock airbox down here. Literally the only thing that's been done is just me unplugging the blue plug to make it dose a little bit, which you can do if you have a JZX. You just unplug that and it doses. choices. Probably harms the turbo a little bit, so just keep that in mind. This is an old turbo and I could be harming it by doing that, but that's the risk I'm willing to take on for that beautiful dose noise. One thing that does annoy me about this though is, oh, they're staying up. Usually the bonnet will close. These gas struts age really badly. I've got a new set of gas struts on the way. It's probably the first like mod. It's not really a mod, but the first thing that I'm doing to the car, because when you put the bonnet up, the gas struts will fall down. So that like that. So I've been in the engine bay trying to have a look around, trying to clean it, and this will just fall down. So we need to get new bonnet struts in and we'll do a video on that. But it's a very, very easy thing to replace because it's just the top and the bottom of each strut. But this car is just so nice, so clean. And I know you're hanging out to see what I am going to do to the car. But rest assured, that is coming. Let's jump in, go for a drive and see what was in store for this JZX 100. Now, what am I planning to do with the car? As I said, this is completely original and it gives me one of two choices. I can either leave it original forever and just not touch anything. This car will be able to be run into the ground. The 1Js are such a strong engine, so I can leave it stock. But you know me, we're not gonna leave it stock, even though I do feel a little bit bad about it because I've never seen a Chaser this original, and I'm not only just saying this because it's my car, but this is just so nice. And I knew from the moment I saw it that I had to buy it. I did almost buy the CL1 Accord Euro R, but I kept coming back to this as something that I said I've always wanted. It has to be done. I teased in several previous videos that I really wanted to put the JZ back into PJZ. So here we are, we've got a JZ powered car. The first thing that I want to do to this car is just some basic smaller stuff. So as I mentioned, I'll change the gas struts in the bonnet. I'll put a double din CarPlay head unit in. Big ticket items, I don't necessarily want lots of power on this car. Literally all I want to do is put the factory lip kit on it, probably repaint the car at some point or just get it professionally detailed and see if any of these scratches come out. Definitely manual swap, but for now the auto is fine, particularly when you're in traffic like this on the M1 where it's just banked up. I don't mind the auto at all. And then just some light power mods like an intercooler, aluminium radiator for the Australian summer that we've got here. Maybe a turbo down the line if this one blows, tune and intake, but just real basic power mods. I don't want to have like a 400 kilowatt car. This is going to be my daily driver, so I just want something that's reliable. It's got plenty of power now in stock form, and coming from the E36, it feels a hell of a lot faster, so I'm just enjoying the current power level, to be honest. I never would have thought that I would enjoy a stock Chaser until I drove it, particularly an automatic one, but this is really, has just totally changed my opinion on stock Japanese cars. I think that back in the day, the manufacturers made these cars so well. They knew what they were doing. I've only ever been in Chasers that have been ridiculously modified and I haven't really enjoyed it that much. So I've really appreciated a stock car. So I think for me, there's not really a massive lot that I actually even want to do to this car. It's just keep it original, keep it clean, look after it, replace the things that are aging, and that's pretty much it. I'm sure as time goes on, there will be some more things that I would like to do to the car, but in essence, I just want to keep it to a nice OEM Plus style build. I don't want to go too crazy. I really want to look after the paint because it is so unique, and I just love dark blue cars. I've said that several times before. I hope you guys are really enjoying this car. I'm absolutely over the moon with it. I definitely think that I made the right choice. This is something that I've always wanted. It is such a nice car to drive. I still am so shocked with just how good it is to drive. This is just the beginning of a really awesome journey with this car. So if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button so I can bring you better and more entertaining car content. Like this video, send it to a friend who needs some more JZX 100 content in their life. Head down to my Instagram and follow me at 2PJZ with an underscore there because I post every single day, multiple times a day on my stories. So that's the most direct way that you can keep up with me. Now it's time to get home and start thinking about what we're going to do with the JZX 100. There's plenty more to come. My name's Pat. You've been watching 2PJZ. Remember, always stay driven, and we'll see you next week.